Hello, YouTube and BitChute friends. Once more after I don't think it's been too long of an absence, but I felt I felt compelled today to do just a little spontaneous insight from the studio, random and spontaneous insight from the studio, which is what started my channel in 2009. And it's been an evolution. It has been a growth process, I would say. If you go to video number 1 to whatever 100 and then the last 100 there I think you'll see a difference. At least I do. So today I maybe, I don't know if it's random or spontaneous so much. It's I noodle on things all the time, but here's a bit of noodling. It's come up in different versions, and the sort of frustration. It's this video is about the frustration that some people have, especially in what is understood to be the uh, the people who have a sense of right and wrong to begin with, what I call a conscience, and that elusive aspect of a reality we enjoy calling the truth. This is all part of my noodling today, and but specifically how it relates to that person who has a sense of themselves of doing the right things as the challenge, obviously, to do the right thing all the time. We generally, I say, always know when we do the wrong thing, even in subtle ways. From the extreme version of it, when you have institutionalized slavery that is moral, even in a church that considers itself moral, like the Catholic Church, who until the mid 1800s insisted that slavery was a moral conduct among Christians, and that they had to change that position, obviously, as it became more clear and clear to people that this is untenable. Somehow it really conflicts with that inner voice that says, yes, they're telling me it's okay to punish a person for the color of their skin, uh, and go on with my inner self saying there's something wrong with this picture. So my thoughts on primarily that individual, not what the alternative types enjoy calling the normie. Normie is a rather derogative way of representing people who are completely closed to their own self, their inner self. It's not that they're closed to anyone out there, it's they're closed to their inner self. It's very important to make this distinction because the inner world is where everything happens. The outer world is a representation of the inner world. So to say, wake up, you're not waking up because I'm telling you shit, is irrelevant because the way that the world works, the real world works when the individual begins to accept the magnificence of the mystery as it's represented in each individual human being. Our clan. I'm talking about our clan, not the animal kingdom and the biological world around us. That's a whole other level of complexity within this mystery. But I'm talking about the individual, how uh, this kind of general frustration with the lack of movement toward what might be considered an enlightenment. And we enjoy calling things and people with names that ultimately are, as in all of language, it's very difficult to formulate language into an elegance that is impactful, that sweet elegance of things. It's like when we look at the some of the literature like Shakespeare, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. To be able to just in a very pithy way identify the essence of something, an idea. It's a slog. Shakespeare had a lot of good lines, and other writers have a lot of good lines. That poets, painters. I relate to that visual thing much more than the written word. I enjoy the visual part of the way people communicate. I really enjoy that. So my my thoughts today was this. If you go back 2 or 3 videos of mine where I talk about how Dr. Shiva, brilliant character, a brilliant mind, has unraveled the nature of our reality as it relates directly to the control mechanisms the bastards employ in order to undermine the general, what I would call the general becoming, the uplifting of ourselves into a higher sense of self, how that needs to be repressed in a very organized institutional way. He has superbly, I think this video, go back to the Dr. Shiva video, I've got a link to it, where he analyzes perfectly, and is Shiva for president. Go, 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 Shiva for president. Under the circumstances we're in right now, he will never be a president. But I'm saying that he is trailblazing, or let me put it this way, he's actually putting another nail in the coffin that may, on some level, wake up, have an effect on what are called the normies and people that see themselves as having insight and understanding about how things actually work. So I see them both the same, the normie and the person that thinks they see themselves in a way that is, okay, enlightened or something in terms of what it is that's going on. The world is not as it appears to be is the premise of instigating this inner world to question the inner world, not the outer world, to question the inner world, to begin to have a personal revolution that will ultimately affect the outside world. So here's my point. I'm going to keep this short today. Here's my point. The frustration that I hear often in people that are so clued in, got to take this break. So this problem that I see, it is a problem in the sense of frustration. I have a level of frustration when I'm understanding something and I can't communicate how simple and straightforward something may be, and a person is just blocked with their own dogma or their convictions, or meaning there is no openness about the possibility of any kind of back and forth communication. We pride ourselves of having a level of tolerance with each other, but ultimately I think we're very concerned with having anything change within us. I mean, I feel this. It's like there is a real resistance to overcoming the patterns and behaviors and the habits that, I'm talking about the bad habits generally, but even all habits ingrain themselves in us, solidify themselves like cement, and it's virtually impossible to overcome. And I think this is the obstacle that we face when we have all the information, everything coming to us, and the bastards don't give a shit. They realize within this system, this structure, the individual is so dogmatized over time, we don't even know this. Kind of like that MK Ultra shit going on a level, not in a clinic, but the entire earth is a clinic for MK Ultra. He explains this through the entertainment side of things. He's got all this, what he calls the swarm, and he identifies all the elements within this bastard swarm makeup of reality, and ultimately the MK Ultra version of it are the entertainers like Trump and Hollywood, and he mentions Tucker and Rogan. Absolutely true. That entire network of people that get a lot of attention, especially Jordan Peterson, top of the pyramid of the entertainers, that really undermine the reality of the inner world. Very incredible incredible level of subterfuge going on there. As I said before, or Booby Kennedy, as he calls him, the saints will deliver us to the next shit show. I said this. Okay, so this is how the bastards work, and we say, oh, we're allied with this person who has got enlightenment understanding. He's going to clear the swamp and lock her up and all those things. Those are all operating fundamentally underneath for people, even people that have insight and understanding to an extent, but are still dogmatized through patterns of lifestyle and everything. It's impossible to 100% overcome. It's a daily struggle. It's like whenever I make a painting, I literally force myself to overcome the dogma that is behind making a painting. And I need to hit that sweet spot of being able to release that thing within myself that gives me a sense of satisfaction, ultimately even purpose, in having accomplished this inner change. So without that inner change, no matter how much information and knowledge you have, like, for example, a person like Ken Wheeler, the photographer guru on the net, who has a complete total understanding of the mystery of the universe through Pali and having translated and being the last one alive to translate and all that. You can shove all that under, throw it over the cliff. We don't need your fucking Pali stuff. What we need is that connection to the heart and that conscience that motivates human beings, and we'll get it all back, even if it's lost. And don't get on your high horse, Ken Wheeler. I mean, the guy is fabulous with his analysis, but he lacks the fundamental understanding of the heart. Somebody like a fringe character like Cliff High, I bring him up all the time because he appears to be one of these people who's got it wired. But what a pathetic soul. I'm sorry. People attach themselves to worthless individuals from the point of view of that inner world. That's what I'm talking about, okay? It's the inner world, people. It's like the famous quote, the rabbi said, the kingdom of heaven is within, or some version of that. So here is what it is that I think will fundamentally change the direction that we're going in. We're going in small steps, but the bastards are laughing still. They're just like, with all the insights of different people and possible explanations for how the world may really be. What is the true reality, so to speak, that we're living in? What is the world as it's not appearing? What is actually the world? And the levels, the onion here keeps on going and going and going, I assure. But it's a satisfying exercise as we peel the onion to get to the core. I don't know how long it'll take, like personally and collectively. But the point get to the point. The point I'm making is that this notion of a change in the way we move, it's not going to happen through any kind of a revolution, the guillotine, or all those violent overthrows. It's going to be a very, very gentle revolution that will occur without the bastards even knowing it. And that is when a person begins to feel something that isn't right is happening to them. Like, you need to truly feel that something is not right, and it's happening to you, to me. This is when this shift, this change from seeing everything as an outer reality that is really important to switching to an inner reality. And I don't believe it means, it can manifest likely in many ways. It's not a matter of Siddhartha Buddha sitting on a rock, and he's accomplished all the highlights in being alive as a human being. This is another ruse. It applies maybe to 1 or 2 people. I don't know, not 8 billion. Whatever it is that it will take for an individual to have this inner revolution will ultimately be the change that the people who are out there, wake up, are looking for, but continuously make the mistake of expecting it to happen from somewhere else. Or people that align themselves and begin to form a cohesive group, like Dr. Shiva says, that groundswell, that bottom bottom up kind of thing. No, it's not a bottom up. Of course, in 8 billion, it's all bottom up. Every single individual is a bottom up. So when that revolution, that inner revolution catches hold, because it's happening to you, it's happening to me. This is what's going to change the way things work. And the bastards are terrified of that, for sure. Shiva has nailed it. They cannot have anybody getting smart, but not to the smartness of the information. What is the fundamental smartness, if you want to call it that will create this surge within humanity to throw off the yoke of this habitual, institutionalized madness? Culture is not our friend, as McKenna said. Terence McKenna nailed that. Yuji Krishnamurti said the same thing. Culture is not our friend. He understood this as well. But then his cynicism, or McKenna's, what would I say with McKenna? I think there was a narcissism and selfishness, again, in McKenna. There was a cynicism in Yuji Krishnamurti. When I listened to the message, it means something to me, but it's not represented the way I would imagine it to be represented in a person that has actually succeeded in that inner revolution. There's so many nuances here when you get into the weeds on how this would manifest. I think it's literally 8 billion manifestations of how this would actually be. And then that cohesiveness about the fundamental notion of that kingdom of heaven being within, as that becomes cohesive in I guess in a threshold sort of way, when we think about anything, that if there is enough of a coming together in a like-mindedness, I suppose, is a good way of putting it. This is when these maybe millennial or even 10,000 year cycles, however long they might be, they might only be 200 or 300 years, I don't know. Unlikely, because I think 300 years ago was still a shit show, culture dominated. But I'm saying that whatever that cycle that we're in, it needs to catch hold on a very personal, fundamental way, where we begin to exercise conscience on a daily, hourly, minute basis. I mean, conscience is not just something on big issues. Conscience is something connected to that heart principle, what people also consider to be that love principle. I think the love, okay, just briefly, the love idea makes sense to me 100%, but that's the next step after conscience. I don't think we can truly feel the love for things until we love ourselves through this sense of self in terms of conscience, that we're doing the right thing. So as we begin to appreciate and love ourselves through that mechanism, we're able to do that love thing in the outside world. It has to happen inside first. And love yourself isn't a selfish thing. Loving yourself is exercising conscience. That's what I think. And then it manifests itself in the world out there. I hope that helps. If it's not happening to me, it's not happening. This is the principle. And the reason people feel something when we get pushed to the edge, when something happens where we're literally pushed to the edge, we have nothing to lose. Quite often we see this revolutionary sense, with the preppers and all these types. They feel oppressed in some way, and then they do the prep and they come together in groups, and it's okay, I guess. But there's no point, like the Who said, old boss, new boss. It's like new boss, old boss. We need to have this individual epiphany. That's what I'm saying. And usually it helps to have something happening to ourselves that fundamentally changes the dogma and the habits that the institutions, these degenerate, this functional cultural shit that's all around us, is dismantled by we become the most important individual in all of existence, and we revolutionize ourselves and then act in the world out there, and it'll be magnificent. That's what I say. So if it's not happening to me, it's not happening is functioning right now for most people.